All right, welcome everyone. Again, thank you for your patience. My name is Amy Martin and I am the events manager here at Freight Farms. I'm going to be helping out with answering some questions throughout the tour today. And then towards the end of the tour, Colleen and I are going to be doing a live Q&A. So submit your questions in the Q&A feature on the bottom of your screen throughout the tour, and we'll get to as many as we can. And then if we aren't able to get to your question, we'll have your account executive reach out in the next couple of days to get those answered for you. The entire tour will be recorded as well, and we will also send that out to you in the next couple of days, probably by early next week once it's done processing on Zoom and everything. Again, thank you for your patience. We were having some technology issues, but I will pass it over to Colleen now to take it away.
Yeah, so my name's Colleen Marks. I'm the Customer Innovations Manager here at Freight Farms. Here at Freight Farms, we are part of a hydroponics vertical farming industry. So we do everything for creating farms all the way to creating the software to run the farm, such as Farmhand. This is a controlled environment agriculture space. The greenery is an atmosphere controlled, tech-connected hydroponic farm built into a 40-foot shipping. This is a shipping container that's built purely for growing our lettuce and having our product in here. It's in a 320 square foot. We're able to grow the equivalent of 2.5 acres of produce annually. In this webinar, towards the second half, we will talk about the actual crops that you can grow in here and what this means when you grow lettuce, when you grow root vegetables, when you grow strawberries, when you grow all those types of things. What does this actually mean? What the biggest thing this does, what this Greenery S does, is it shortens the food supply chain and makes fresh produce available hyper-locally to any community around the globe. So you can take one of these shipping containers and place it in the middle of New York City. You can put it in a farm in Texas. You can put it in right in the parking lot of a grocery store, at a school, for their dining halls. You can put it pretty much anywhere in the world. There's two parts to the farm. There's the nursery station, which is the part right here. This is where your seedlings will grow. And then the cultivation area is the place right behind me. And it's actually a great day. We haven't harvested this farm yet. So the farm is really, really full of amazing lettuce that we'll look at later. The nursery station, crops start in the nursery station. They stay in here for 2 to 3 weeks. This area has space for about 4,600 crops. That is 16 trays of seedlings. A tray of seedlings, this is I'm gonna pull one out. This is what a tray of seedlings are gonna look like after their first week. So they spend the first week in humidity domes. After the humidity domes, they're gonna hang out in the nursery station for another 2 weeks to get them to grow nice and big. So here is a grow pod. These are Flexi Grow Tech plugs. They're made of cocoa peat moss, and this is going to be basil. So really nice basil seedling, ready to put into their panels next week. And you can see some nice root growth right at the bottom here. Not all farmers need 4,600 seedlings, so this is a great place to also grow microgreens if your market is interested in it. If you only use your top trough and you have extra space, you can actually grow microgreens right at the bottom. Or some people actually make full-on racks on the side of their other side of their farm, where they can use the spare plugs that are programmable and actually run microgreen stations inside the shipping container as well to really maximize the space. The nursery station can be thought of in a few main parts. There's the work table itself, and then there's the troughs. Let me see if I can get you guys a better view of the troughs. These are the troughs. You can see that they have their own lights and their own water. So the nice full troughs right here. It has its own water tank, a 33-gallon water tank. And then the dosing cabinet itself. The dosing cabinet fits 4 1-gallon reservoirs and has 8 peristaltic pumps that pump the nutrients, pH down, and other things to your different water tanks. When a crop is seeded, we plant it right into the trays, into peat moss plugs, as I showed. And when it's plugged in here, You're going to put your seed directly into the pod. It's going to grow into this pod and get water and light from the nursery station. After the 3 weeks in the nursery station, we're actually going to transplant it into the cultivation area. So these are more of what a 3-week seedling is going to look like. This is a nice big basil seedling. This is what we're going to grow and put straight into our panels themselves. So the cultivation area is split up into what we call panels. There's 88 panels. Each panel can hold up 100 plants, meaning the cultivation area has space for about 8,800 plants at any given time. So I'm going to pull down a panel. Super easy. We can move the grow rows around. And now we have a panel of lettuce. It's really hard to see the panel itself because of how full this plant or how big these lettuce are. You can see right here, it's white plastic, and then there's going to be black foam with white saturation strips underneath it. So this is a really big panel. These are going to be in here until, I believe, next Tuesday. So they have a little bit longer life, but you can see that we're growing pretty big heads of lettuce, anywhere from 2.5 to 4 to 5 ounces each. That includes the plug itself. So always put that into your calculations. I'm going to put this one back off to the side. Now, what a lot of people like seeing, I'm going to turn on the grow lights themselves. So first, we're going to have the left red lights. That's going to take a second. Turn on. Now, what I can do is actually change the intensity of the red lights. So right now, it's at a lower intensity. You'll probably be able to see it just a little. If I turn on this, the lights are going to get a little bit more intense. So they got just a smidge more intense right there. With the red lights, we could also turn on our blue lights. So we can turn on our blue lights. It's going to take just a minute for my phone to catch up. But so then we have both our blue and our red lights on, and we're able to give our plants the full lights, or the blue and red spectrum of light. I did all of this just straight on my phone in farmhand. I don't know if it's going to be able to focus on it. I'm able to control the whole farm on my phone. And I can also see what's going on in the farm through its sensor readings and its atmospheric conditions. I can actually program those into my recipe. So just like the nursery station, we have a water tank in the very back of the farm. The very back of the farm is an 88-gallon water tank. That water tank is actually has a recirculating system. And so we constantly are using the same water through our plants. With the help of our dosing system, we're able to actually keep using that water for up to 4 weeks. So that's 88 gallons up to 4 weeks. And actually, in some places, we use they can become water positive because we use the condensation from our HVAC to actually pull water from the air and actually bring it straight into our tank. So that's how our cultivation tank can actually get fresh water. And it's water positive. So most farms use less than 5 gallons of water a day. So there is separate watering and lighting systems for the nursery station and the cultivation station or cultivation area, but they all share the same atmospheric conditions, the same CO2 levels, the same temperature, and the same humidity. So the HVAC system that we just talked about is located in the very exterior of the farm. And that unit is rated for an ambient temperature range of about -5 or -30 degrees Fahrenheit and all the way up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So now that I've talked about the actual growing system of the farm, now I'm going to talk about the actual plants that we can grow. That's what we're kind of here for. This is the main thing. So the lettuce is our most popular crop. We can grow a lot of different crops in here, but lettuce is one of our primary cash crops. Varieties like Salanova varieties such as Sweet Crisp, Red Oak, Green Butterhead. These are highly flavorful for flavored and for their compact and flavorful heads, as well as romaine. Coastal Star romaine is one of our most prominent ones, and it's going to be sweet, or it's going to be crispy leaves with nutrition. What's going to happen with romaine in here? It's not going to grow in the very vertical head-like. It's going to actually open up a lot more. So it's going to look a little different than your, farmer out in the farm, but it's going to be a lot fresher than what you can get in a farm because you're going to be able to deliver it to people within hours of harvesting it. Next is our leafy greens. Our leafy greens are like arugula and kale. Arugula are things like Astra arugula, esme, wasabi arugula. They're known for their quick growth and like super peppery flavor. Wasabi arugula can be very spicy. It's something that when you give it to your chefs, they're going to say, this is something unlike I've had before, because it's going to be a lot different in flavor. The flavor is going to be way more potent. Kale grows super well in the farm, actually too well sometimes. People can keep kale in here for over 6 months on just the same crop, and it's going to keep regrowing over and over and over again. Winterboard kale and dwarf Siberian are robust choices offering rich leafy produce. Curly kales and like different kales like that where they're can come in purple and different dark greens, things that maybe you don't always see in the grocery store. That is a huge trend through all the crops I'm going to go through. Is these are things that you can't normally find in the grocery store because you're able to pick varieties that people aren't normally able to get to because they're so specialized. And that's what chefs and other people really enjoy about the Freight Farm. Herbs, basil is one of the biggest ones. As you can see, we're growing basil here in the farm. Like I said, we've got a lot of basil here. It grows like wildfire as well. You can specialize the recipe in your container to grow primarily basil. So a little bit of a warmer condition. It's really, really good here. Things like Genovese and Prospera, but also Thai basil. Thai basil is really good. The flowers of Thai basil are really good. I highly recommend growing basil here in the farm. You can also grow other herbs like parsley. The giant of Italy variety is the most robust and flavorful, as well as cilantro. Santo provides a fresh and distinctive taste as well. Cilantro is a little different. You can't quite regrow it over and over. The leaves will kind of regrow a little funky. So definitely be a little cautious. And then when you grow cilantro and other trickier germinating seeds, you're going to want to soak it in some xylitol for 3 to 4 days. And that's going to soften the seed casing and allow you to get much better germination rates. You can grow Asian greens, things like bok choy, li ren choy, and black summer are the excellent choices for quick and healthy crops. They grow really, really fast and really, really big in a quick period of time. Mizuna Red Kingdom offers a mildly spicy flavor with attractive appearance. Good one that I would say is really popular in here that can grow pretty quickly. Things like lettuce and leafy greens can be grown for 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks before their first harvest. Things like arugula and mustards would stay in here for more like 3 weeks. Root vegetables, on the other hand, like radishes, are going to actually grow in here for only 2 weeks. So they have a rapid growth cycle. They're very crunchy. You can grow things like Atlas carrots, turnips, beets, breakfast radishes, round radishes, all that different types. So you get a lot of different root vegetables out of this as well, which really surprises a lot of people that we can even grow root vegetables in these panels. Some experimental crops. So microgreens aren't quite experimental. They're just not traditional to freight farming. Like I said before, if you have extra trough space, or if you have a rack for microgreens, that's going to be a really good place. People love things like sunflower microgreens or pea shoots. More traditional microgreens are going to be like your breakfast or your broccoli and radish microgreens. So definitely microgreens in here, if you're using the nutrient-rich water, you can harvest your microgreens between 7 and 9 days. If you use not nutrient-rich water, it's going to take more like 12 to 14 days. Fruit-bearing plants are things like strawberries and tomatoes. Much harder to grow in here, but we actually use conduit holders inside the panels for those vining crops, and you're able to actually grow them right like that. I do have a picture of some strawberries that I saw 2 days ago in a farm. Let's see if I can pull them up fast enough. And then let's see if you guys can see it. This is what some strawberries look like right in the panels. So you're actually going to buy strawberry starts instead of starting your strawberry from scratch, or else you're going to be here for a really long time. But you can actually grow your strawberries straight into the panels. And then as their runners come, you can actually take off the runner and propagate it straight into another pod. Other things that you can grow are things like shiso. Japanese restaurants are huge into shiso. You've got purple and green shiso that you can offer. They've got great color, but they're definitely perfect for the niche markets. Shiso is actually sold by the leaf instead of like by the pound, so you can get really good money for that as well. Finally, I'm going to talk about edible flowers. You can actually grow things like violas and other flowers that are really good for like teas and herbs and remedies like that. So I would definitely recommend trying out some flowers. Specialty herbs are things like lemon balm. Their lemon balm can be really good as well. And the benefits of growing diverse crops, you're going to have market diversification. Offering a variety of crops can attract different customer segments and increase revenue. And then nutrient density, the diverse range of crops ensure a rich supply of nutrients for your customers. It's going to be a lot more rich, nutrient dense here in this farm. Like I said, you're harvesting it within hours of delivering it. Whereas when you buy lettuce, it could be coming all the way from California to Florida, California to Boston. It has to go thousands of miles just to get to your plate. And at that point, you're not going to get the nutrients that you would get if you got it right from your local farm. And then the sustainability practices. Like I said, we actually grow with less water than traditional agriculture, 99% less water than traditional agriculture. So it's definitely something to think about when you're looking at what's going to be the best for you in the long term, is growing a more sustainable way. So in conclusion, Freight Farms Greenery S is a versatile system capable of supporting a wide array of crops, from standard leafy greens to herbs to experimental fruits to exotic greens. By exploring and diversifying the crops you grow, you can actually tap into new markets, improve sustainability, and meet nutritional needs of your community. Now I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm sure there's a lot. I have like different stories about visiting farmers around the country, getting to see what they grow in their farms. The only story I will preface with is one about buzz buttons, which is actually a fruit, a flower that you can grow. Buzz buttons are actually used in places like Disney in their Star Wars cantina. They actually ground up the flour and turn it into a foam. What that buzz button does is actually like almost feels like it's electrocuting your mouth and numbs your mouth when you eat it. So things like that are not going to be your traditional stuff. It's going to be super niche, but it's going to be things like Disney's going to want to put into their restaurants, because it's going to make it unique and bring a lot more to your communities. So definitely things to think about.
All right.
Amy.
Hello. If you tuned in a little bit late, my name is Amy and I am the events manager here at Freight Farms. I'm going to be helping Colleen through this Q&A section. So we have a little bit of a time. So if you have any questions that you want Colleen to answer or anything else you want to see in the farm, definitely put them in the Q&A and we'll get to as many as we can. If we can't get to them, I apologize, but we usually get a lot during this section. So we'll follow up with you after the event. So it's kind of a mix of questions between crops and just like general farm questions. So I'm just going to go down the list. I would like to know better. I would like to better know what you mean when you say something can regrow over and over again.
Yeah, of course. So things like kale, what we actually do is you have your starter kale. Kale will then branch off to multiple leaves. What we do is actually take the older leaves and leave about 4 to 5 of the younger leaves at the top, and then we let it regrow. So that stem will keep getting hardier and hardier, and you'll be able to keep taking leaves off of it. Same thing with basil. You cut, when you're growing basil, you actually grow it. Let me see if one of these basil plants are kind of older. So what you can see here in this basil plant, let me get rid of some basil really quick. So right here in this basil plant, it's going to grow until you get to this first node. So in the wall, it's going to keep growing bigger and bigger. We're actually going to cut right before the first node. And that way these nodes can actually grow again and keep producing more and more basil. So we can come back to it over and over again. And that way we're saving money on the cost of pods, cost of seeds, and labor time to actually transplant and seed over and over. So things like kale, arugula, mustard greens, basil, herbs, things that you can cut again are really beneficial to your bottom line.
Perfect. All right. What nutrients and supplements are added to the water supply?
Yeah, so Farmhand Shop, which is our shop for Freight Farms, we have our own nutrient line. Our nutrient line, our Farmhand Shop nutrient line is pretty basic. It's made into two different parts. It's part A, which is going to be a lot of your primary NPK nutrients, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, I believe. You're going to have those primary nutrients in that one. And then you're going to have your the more minor nutrients, the secondary nutrients in our part B, which is form is part A, grow is part B. And then we add pH down, which is a phosphoric acid, straight into our water as well. And then the only other additives that I would really talk about is we do add CO2 into the air through an injection system. And then we also can add things like silicate, which is an active ingredient in different growth products. And that's going to help strengthen the cell wall to help plants actually uptake more water and make them more nutrient dense. And then the last one would be HydroGuard, which is a beneficial bacteria to help ward off things like cyanobacteria, which are unhealthy bacteria. But all things just help the plants grow. You can run your farm to be organic by using all organically certified nutrients and nutrients and solutions. But for the most part, most of our farmers run off of Farmhand Form and Farmhand Grow.
Perfect. Do you need any sort of pollination insect for certain plants?
Definitely don't release bees in here. I get that question quite a bit about releasing bees. Don't release bees. You can hand pollinate if so, but things like strawberries are going to be self-pollinating. They just need wind. And we have duct fans, overhead fans, and other fans like that. You can add more fans in here that can create wind to help pollinate things. But we try to stay away from plants that need to be pollinated because that's going to be really time consuming if you have to hand pollinate everything.
So speaking of bees, we have a couple questions on pest and disease control. Is there a risk of pests? If so, how is the risk prevented in these containers? And then the other question was, I think along the same, do you perform a cleaning process when you enter to reduce the risk of introducing pests?
Yeah, first thing, never go to traditional agriculture farms and come back to your freight farm. That's going to be a big no-no. A lot of farms have pests and disease that we try to keep out of our freight farm. Our freight farm, as long as you treat it as a clean space where you're coming in freshly showered, cleaned clothes, and you're not going to other agriculture spaces, you can actually have a pretty decently pest-free farm for a very, very long time. I'm talking some people have run their farm for 5+ years and never had a big pest outbreak. If you ever do find pests in your farm, it's really important that you bring the pests out of the farm as quickly as possible. Things like aphids are the worst nightmare. Thrips are not really great either. We do get fungus gnats a lot, but fungus gnats are fine. They really don't do much. We can do things like adding EM1 into our water and other things like that to help ward off fungus gnats and other things like that. But for the most part, we're a pretty pest and disease minimal thing. You can release things like ladybugs into your farm. Amy knows that very well. You can release ladybugs into the farm to help eat those pests, but for the most part, you just have to do your pest scouting and really take that very seriously to make sure if you spot something, you catch it very early on and bring it outside the farm.
So going back to organic, the question is, our Freight Farms produce is not organic, or can produce be grown organically?
Produce can be grown organically. You can get your farm organically certified. Freight Farms is not going to really help you in that process, but you can do the proper steps to get organically certified. And a lot of that comes from the nutrients and the solutions that you use in your farm to get organically certified. You can get things like GAP certification, which is good agriculture practice, which is food safety. Food health and safety is what's really big in this freight farm. There's multiple farms out there that are GAP certified, which is done through the FDA. And it has a huge process that you go through, but it ensures the health and cleanliness of your food that's coming out of here. So it takes a little bit more work to get certified, but you can follow organic practices in your farm at any point.
Yes. All right, going back to kind of along the lines of pests and disease control, can you please expand on maintenance of the farm, how frequent, etc.?
Yeah, so we actually provide you a one-page sheet on everything that you need to do in the farm. There's things that you're going to do every day every day that you work in the farm, you're going to perform maintenance of. That's things like wiping your counters down, making sure your drip emitters are working, making sure your debris filters and other filters in the farm are cleaned out and good to go. Then there's things that you're going to perform weekly. Weekly checks are, once again, your emitters, doing your harvesting, your transplanting, your seeding is going to happen weekly. And then there's things like every month you're going to do water turnover for your nursery station and your cultivation area. You're going to change out your CO2 regulator once a week. Different things like that. But your HVAC maintenance, you're going to do that once a month. Super easy. Once you see the one pager, you're going to be like, oh, that's a lot less than I was expecting, because once again, it's a modular system. So everything is pretty self-contained. It can stay clean if you keep it clean. And a lot of things are really easy maintenance of just pulling out a filter, wiping things down, and turning over some water.
Perfect. Where can we find the plugs that you start with?
So you can either buy them on Farmhand Shop. Those are going to be iHort grow plugs. Not my favorite. My favorite is actually from Zip Grow. You can actually buy Grow Tech Flexi plugs, and those are going to be the much better plugs that you can buy. They have way less risk of carrying fungus gnats, and they're in a much better. They retain water better than the iHort plugs, and they just come in like a better packaging style.
So like Colleen just mentioned, we do have Farmhand Shop. You don't have to buy the supplies from us. But in some cases it may be beneficial. One of the things that we don't sell are seeds. We get ours from Johnny Seeds. It's a great company. I think, I mean, Colleen, you would know more than me on this subject, but I believe a lot of farmers also purchase seeds from Johnny Seeds. But Farmhand Shop, I put it in the chat just so you can check out the link and see what we offer, but it is not required to purchase from there to run your farm.
Yeah, it's more of a convenience option than a full-blown, like, you have to buy from us. Freight Farms, we're going to support you whether you buy nutrients from us or not. We'll support you no matter what grow plugs you decide to use, everything like that. There is small things like saturation strips and foam and other things like that you'll have to buy from us because they're specialty products. But besides that, all your consumables can be really purchased from anywhere. Amazon, air filters you can buy right out at Walmart, a lot of things like that.
Colleen, we just got a question asking, could you bake the plugs to kill the fungus gnats before you use them?
Yes, this is very much someone who knows what they're talking about. If you have iHort plugs, what you're going to want to do is get a baking dish or a big steel baking catering pan. Once you have that, you're going to go ahead, pour your plugs in there, take a few cups of water, put that on there, put some tinfoil on the top, bake them at, I believe, 350 for an hour or two. Let them get that steam bath. Check on them halfway through to make sure not all the water is dissolved. You don't want to burn your plugs. But you can actually steam bath your plugs and get rid of the fungus gnats, a lot of the fungus gnats at least. That is what I would recommend if you're ever using iHort plugs, to definitely take that extra step in order to do that. Like I said, flexi plugs though, way less likely to get fungus gnats. They're way less likely to be carrying them, I should say.
And while they don't smell like brownies, after they're baked, they do resemble brownies.
Yes, the forbidden brownies.
A couple questions on solar. Can you just speak to that a little bit? If you can use solar panels, do farmers use solar panels?
Yeah, there's a couple farmers out there that do have solar setups. When you do solar, it's not like you're going to put a few panels on the roof and you're going to have solar for your entire farm. These farms do generate quite a bit of energy or require quite a bit of energy. So you're going to want a decent amount of solar panels. You'll also need things like a Tesla battery, a power supply house that you can actually store power. And then you can hook it up straight to our main breaker. I would say that a lot of farmers use solar as a percentage or an offset to their main power, but 100% doable. There's actually studies done by the University of Arizona and Biosphere 2 that they actually ran a study on how to use solar at their farms, and it's very interesting to learn about.
All right. On the solar panel or electrical topic, what is the energy consumption for a farm?
So that really depends on the recipe that you use. So like I said, you do have different light intensities. I just noticed that the lights are still on, so I'm going to turn those off because it's going to bother me. But so what you can do is if you're worried about energy consumption, you can go on a lower energy power mode that uses a lower intensity light. So about 180 ppfd to 100 ppfd red light. That's going to lower the amount of light intensity, which is going to lower your energy consumption considerably. We can run the farms as low as about 140 kilowatt hours a day. And then the average is about 230 kilowatt hours a day at the highest performance. So the highest performance, you're going to run a lot more energy. I would definitely talk to your account executive about this, or at any point, feel free to reach out to them and I can give you more information about it. Energy is definitely a larger piece to the puzzle. There are ways to lower your energy consumption from even that 140 that I talked about. You can lower it even further by using third-party dehumidifier systems, changing your light intensity settings or your light duration settings, other things like that. However, when you change and run at a lower performance, you are going to get a smaller yield overall. So definitely think about that. It's a much more complex conversation. I've written quite a few things about the energy consumption of the farm. So definitely look out for on our website. I'm sure we have some information about it.
Definitely. Okay, so we answered the fungus, solar panels, stackability. How viable is this? Looks like there's at least one set in Montgomery,
Yes.
Alabama.
That's MGM Greens. MGM Greens has two farms stacked on top of each other. We've seen, I believe, up to 3. I think that's kind of crazy. I would really recommend just 2 stacked on top of each other. But it's super doable. Shipping containers are meant to be stacked, especially with their own shipping containers. These are normal shipping containers. If you've seen large cargo ships, you've seen them stacked before. As long as you have a way to get into the door of both your farms and do your HVAC maintenance to both your containers, then you should be perfectly fine to stack them.
Yeah, we have a decent amount, or maybe a handful or so of farmers that have at least 2 stacked.
Yeah,
It's a little windy up there.
It's not my favorite. I have a slight fear of heights, so if they've got some rickety stairs and I'm going up them, it's not my favorite.
Okay. Is this difficult for someone with minor physical movement issues?
So it depends what the issue is, but we do have a lot of people who use this in different social emotional learning situations, or people who can't normally work at traditional jobs definitely work in here. I would say having an aid with you is definitely going to be helpful. If you struggle lifting the panels, maybe you have someone come in and help you do that. If you have arthritis or anything in your hands, it might not be a perfect fit for you because you're going to be seeding different pods. Transplanting is going to be physical on your fingers and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not like you're not going to be lifting 50-pound panels or anything. These panels, I think, max get up to like 10 pounds. And then things like water turnover, you're not lugging physical water in here. You're connecting a hose and letting the system do the work for you. So I wouldn't call it like a huge physical demand, but you are going to be up on your feet for long periods of time. You are going to be using your hands, doing smaller detailed tasks. and things like that. The farm usually has a labor consumption of anywhere between 20 and 30 hours a week. So you can run this as a part-time, but a lot of people make this their full-time gig.
Definitely. What do the panels weigh?
So the panels themselves, I believe, only weigh like, I don't know, like a few pounds, not really. And then the amount of produce that is in there, it's gonna vary, but amount of produce is gonna be less than 15 pounds on each one. So definitely below the 20 pounds, and it's gonna be more like 10 pounds average, I would say.
All right, let's talk about water. Can you speak more about the variability of water usage in different climates? Example, what is the water usage like in Colorado versus Egypt?
Ooh. I don't know too much about Egypt. I'm gonna pick a different place. So Colorado has a drier atmosphere, so you're not gonna be likely to be water positive in Colorado. Places like Florida with a very high humidity, they're gonna pull a lot of water and constantly be water positive. Now, if you're water positive, you're either gonna drain your tank a little bit each week, or you can actually channel the runoff to either be collected to be used during water turnover the next time. That's what some people have done, or you can just have it drain outside your farm and passively go, so you don't have to drain your tank constantly each week. We have a ton of information based off of that. When you do water turnover, you are bringing water into the farm. So what we recommend always is when you're buying your farm, you're going to do a water test to make sure that your water is suitable for growing plants. If it's not the most ideal conditions, it's high in calcium, it's high in sodium, something like that, you can actually get what's called RO filters. And we have one right back here. If you look directly behind me, you can actually see an RO filter mounted to the back wall. That's going to make, that's a reverse osmosis filter that's going to clean your water for you and make you have cleaner water to grow the perfect plants every single time. RO filters do not come with the farm. You will have to purchase it after the fact. But if you have it on site and I come to your farm, I've installed quite a few RO filters. It's not my favorite task, but I'm very happy to do it.
Speaking of that, do you want to just quickly talk about training?
Yeah, so training wise, we have 3 training options. We have our online self-directed training option, which is going to be Farmhand Academy. Farmhand Academy is a course that you'll go through. Pretty much everyone goes through this course. It's going to teach you about hydroponics. It's going to teach you about hydroponics in a greenery, yes, how to operate the greenery, other things like that. We have other materials that are virtual, like our profitability guide, our education nonprofit guide, other things like that that are going to teach you how to use this farm in your situation. And then we're going to have things like farmhand or farm camp, which is going to be in-person 2-day event in Boston, where we're going to train you with our staff and we'll train you on our farms, how to use them, how to operate them, perform maintenance, other things like that. And then we have what's called an on-site. An on-site visit is going to be a 2-day visit where myself or someone else on the customer experience team will come out to your farm, make sure your farm is fully set up, make sure you have everything that you need to grow. We'll teach you how to grow in your farm, install an RO filter, teach you about HVAC maintenance, fix any issues that might happen, really just anything underneath the sun. I've spent my on-sites teaching people about business and business models. I've taught people about crops. I've installed reverse osmosis filters. I've changed out pump and irrigation systems to be something different. There's a ton of stuff that you can do with an on-site. So I always recommend people splurge and get the on-site to go with it.
Awesome. All right. One quick question. When's the next farm camp? Did not see it online. So we host farm camps every other month. One just took place about 2 weeks ago. So the next one will be in September. And it's only open to customers. So it's great that you can meet other customers and talk to them, learn how they're using their farm, what they're going to grow, plans, etc. It's a really fun and great experience. Okay, so just being aware of time, I wanted to go through a couple questions about climate. So this person emailed in a few questions saying they live in the Caribbean. So does the tropical climate affect the operations within the container?
No, I would say Like I said, the only thing that the outdoor climate is going to affect is it could affect how much your HVAC's running. So it really depends. If you're in a cooler climate, your HVAC's not going to run as much because you have the ability to open your intake vent and allow more cooler air to come in. If you're in a really, really hot climate, you're going to run your HVAC more. If you're in a climate, you're going to be if you're a high humidity climate like the Caribbeans, you're going to be water positive. So you're going to have more fresh water coming into your farm. So you'll use more nutrients. But really, this is a self-contained system. We have farms in the Bahamas and other places like Florida and tropical areas, and they run very well year round. This is not something that it does poorly in. They can withstand hurricanes and other things like that. You can get generators to run your farm off of if you're in prone to areas prone to power outages. You can run it off a generator. Will help you in, with that power requirements and everything like that. But for the most part, it really doesn't matter what your outdoor conditions are. Indoors are always going to be the ideal conditions because we're able to control everything with our HVAC system with our recipe page on Farmhand.
One other quick question. In their country, they experience frequent power outages at times. What would you recommend for this, and would fluctuations in electricity cause an issue?
So I would definitely get a backup generator. We do have people who have run their farm on generators. If you're prone to having some blackouts, the farm will be fine for short periods of blackouts. So if it's a couple of hours, you're going to be perfectly fine. They're not going to have an issue. If you're talking about several days, then that's when you're going to want to get a generator. Run your farm off of a generator. You'll decrease the amount of things on the load and actually run your farm at more of a minimal conditions while you're waiting for your power to come back online.
All right. We are at time, and I just want to be aware of everyone's time. But if I didn't get to your question with Colleen, like I said, we'll have your account executive follow up with you by next week. The recording of this will be sent out next week as well. And sorry, we just got 2 questions on finance. Freight Farms does not have any financing options available. However, that doesn't mean that our team cannot and will not support you. We are here to support you throughout the funding process as best we can. We have a bunch of resources online, so definitely reach out to your account executive to see how we can best help you. And then somebody asked, do you allow pay to own? I'm not sure if that means like a rent to own or a lease to own, but in either of those cases, we do not. It's once you purchase it, it's your container. We do not have a leasing or renting program. All right. Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.